Thanksgiving always had a way of making my childhood home feel smaller than it really was, as if the walls themselves shrank in anticipation of old tensions. I hadn't been back in 3 years, not because I was busy, but because distance had become my only peace. Yet somehow, guilt and nostalgia teamed up this year and dragged me back down the long driveway toward a front door that had never quite felt like mine. Mom opened it before I could knock. Ava, look who finally decided to join us. Her hug was polite, brief, and lukewarm, like shaking hands with a polite stranger rather than embracing your daughter. She stepped aside before I could respond, already calling over her shoulder for Dad. He emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a dish towel, his expression somewhere between mild surprise and obligation. Well, he said with a stiff nod, you made it. There was no warmth, no I missed you, no glad you're here. But I had stopped expecting those things a long time ago. Inside, the house smelled of turkey, cinnamon, and polished furniture. Mom never missed a chance to overdo the cleaning. The dining table looked as stiff as the people around it. Matching napkins, silverware aligned with military precision, and place cards even though the same 4 people had sat at the same table for decades. My sister, Chloe, bounced out of the hallway like she'd been waiting for a grand entrance. She wrapped her arms around me with dramatic affection, her voice pitched high enough to sound cheerful. Oh my God, Ava, you're actually here. I told Mom you would probably cancel again. She giggled, the kind of laugh that was more about being heard than being happy. I forced a smile and let her hug linger a second longer before stepping back. Yeah, well, here I am. From the moment I walked in, I could feel them studying me the way people inspect furniture, looking for scratches or weaknesses. My clothes were too nice, my posture too confident, and my calm too suspicious. They had always preferred me meek. Dinner began with the usual questions, tossed out like they were doing me a favor by pretending to care. So, that little computer thing you do, you're still doing that? Dad asked, carving the turkey as if he was concentrating on something far more important. I run a software consulting business now, I replied, passing the mashed potatoes toward my mother. Oh, Mom said vaguely, as if I'd told her I worked the night shift somewhere. Is that stable? Before I could answer, Chloe leaned in. Do you make enough to live comfortably? You look healthier than last year. Her tone suggested that my improved appearance required explanation. I'm doing fine. I said simply, but fine didn't satisfy them. It never had, they asked, prodded, poked carefully at first, like cats testing whether prey was still alive. Their attempts to reconnect felt like small talk, with sharp edges, shallow questions masking deeper motives. At one point, Chloe asked if she could borrow my phone charger, already reaching toward my bag on the chair. Something tightened in my chest. I should have stopped her. I should never have brought the envelope with me. I should have known curiosity was her favorite sport, but she didn't wait for my permission. Don't worry, I'll grab it. She unzipped my purse, her fingers rummaging, and then she froze. The room didn't yet know it, but the storm had started. And there was no going back. Chloe's expression shifted first, her eyebrows rising, mouth parting slightly in a stunned, almost reverent silence. She held the financial statement between 2 fingers like it was a sacred artifact. Then she slowly looked up at me, her face flushing with something between excitement and betrayal. 11 million, she whispered, the words trembling into the air like a secret too heavy for her to carry. Forks stopped midair, my father's jaw tightened, my mother lifted her head like she had heard a dog whistle. They all stared at me, waiting for me to say it was a mistake, a joke, a mirage. I exhaled. Chloe put it away, but she didn't. Instead, she turned the paper around for Mom and Dad to see, like some magician revealing a final trick. Mom snatched the letter, scanning it with widening eyes. This is real, she asked, her voice breathless. Ave, what is this? My financial statement. I said quietly, can you give it back? Dad cleared his throat, his tone suddenly stern, almost accusatory. Explain. There it was, the demand, the shift. A moment ago they had been uninterested in my job, my life, me. Now their attention was sharp, hungry. I sold my business 2 years ago, I said, and I invested the money. Chloe let out a low whistle, shaking her head dramatically. You sold something for that much. The judgment in her voice wasn't subtle. It wasn't luck. I said calmly, I worked for it, but Mom wasn't listening. She pressed a manicured hand to her chest, offended and emotional. How could you keep this from us, from your own family? Because it wasn't your business, I said simply. That set off the spark. Mom slammed the paper onto the table. We struggled, Ava. We helped your sister with her loans, your father's medical bills, and all that time you had millions. I didn't have it all at once, I said. It grew over the last few years. Dad leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. But you had money, and you let us suffer. There it was, the phrase that would echo in my mind for months afterward. Let them suffer, as if my purpose in life had been to cushion their mistakes, as if I owed them the rewards of my resilience. I never let you suffer, I said slowly. You just never asked how I was doing. You assumed I was failing. You preferred it, even. That's ridiculous, Mom snapped. Really, I looked at her. Every time I brought up my business, you told me it was unrealistic. You told me to find a real job. When I moved out, you said I wouldn't last 6 months. You didn't ask how I was when I stopped. Coming to Thanksgiving not once, Chloe rolled her eyes. We were busy. I felt something old and jagged shift in me. A truth that had waited years to surface. You never cared what I was building. I said softly, you only care now because you see a number. That silenced them. For 10 long seconds, no one spoke. Then Chloe broke the quiet with a resentful laugh. You're being dramatic. Family helps family. You have more than you need. Why not share it? My pulse steadied. My voice did not shake, because I earned it. I said, alone, without support, without encouragement, without any of you. Mom recoiled as if I had slapped her. You ungrateful girl, ungrateful. The word landed like an old bruise being pressed too hard, but this time the pain didn't swallow me. This time something inside me hardened clear, sharp, unbreakable. I finally realized their love had always been conditional. But my freedom didn't have to be. For a moment no one moved. The chandelier hummed faintly above us, its light flickering across their faces I had spent my whole life trying to please. But something about the silence felt different now. Like they were finally seeing me, not as a daughter or a sister, but as a vault they'd suddenly found the key to. Dad leaned forward, his elbows on the table. His voice was deceptively calm. Ava, no one is asking for everything, but imagine what a small portion of that money could do for the family. It would help us catch up. It would even things out. Even things out. As if life had simply been slightly unbalanced. As if the decades of being overlooked, dismissed, and belittled could be smoothed with a financially convenient apology. I pushed my plate away. You didn't care about things being even when Chloe got a new car at 17, and I had to take the bus. Mom narrowed her eyes. That's not the same. It's exactly the same, I said. You invested in her future and mocked mine. And now that it paid off for me, suddenly you're interested. Chloe scoffed loudly. Seriously, Ava, you're acting like a victim. You always were so sensitive. I turned toward her. You used to tell your friends I was the failure sibling. You said I was jealous of you. Chloe didn't deny it. Instead, she tossed her hair annoyed. Well, look at you now. Turns out you were the jealous one. I almost laughed. If I was jealous of anything, it was the idea that someone in this family might actually believe in me. But that never happened. Dad's frustration flared. Enough with the dramatics. We're talking about money, not emotions. That's the problem, I said softly. You think everything comes down to what I can give you. Mom clasped her hands as if she were negotiating a business deal. Ava, we deserve a little help. After everything we did for you growing up, food, school, a roof over your head. Do you think that was free? The way she said it, like raising me was an investment she expected returns on, cut deeper than I expected. I stood up, my chair scraping across the floor. You didn't raise me. You fed and housed me because that's what parents are supposed to do. But emotionally, you left me to figure everything out alone. Her lips curled. And look how well you turned out. You should be grateful. There it was again, grateful. I took a slow breath, steady, controlled. I am grateful, but not to you. I'm grateful to myself, for not giving up, for pushing when everyone told me to quit, for becoming someone despite how small you tried to make me feel. Chloe crossed her arms, scowling. So what now? You walk out with all that money and pretend you don't owe us anything. I met her gaze. I don't owe you a cent. Their faces twisted, anger, disbelief, entitlement braided together into something ugly. Then, calmly, I pulled out a folder from my bag. Their eyes followed it like predators tracking a slow, moving animal. What's that? Dad demanded. I laid the documents on the table, the deed to the house on Hawthorne Street. Their expressions softened with hope. Mom even smiled. You bought it for us. No. I folded my hands. I bought it. And this morning, I signed it over to a charity that supports teenage girls aging out of foster care. The explosion was immediate. You what? Chloe shouted. Are you insane? Mom shrieked. Ava, have you lost your mind? Dad barked. I didn't flinch. Those girls know what it feels like to be invisible, to be told they won't amount to anything. They need that home, and they deserve it more than any of you. Silence swept the room, thick and stunned. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of their disappointment. I was free from it. The drive home after Thanksgiving felt surreal, as though the night had stretched out in slow motion and then suddenly snapped back into reality. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, but not from fear, from release, from the sheer weight of years, decades finally sliding off my shoulders like a coat I should have thrown away long ago. When I reached my apartment, my friends were there, sprawled on my couch, keeping the lights warm and the air kind. They had insisted I let them know how dinner went. The moment I walked in, Taylor sat up straight. So, she asked, eyes sharp with concern. How bad was it? I laughed, really laughed, startling even myself. The sound felt light, unburdened. Bad, I said, but also exactly what I needed. As I told them everything from the moment Chloe opened my bag to the screaming match that followed, my friends didn't look shocked. They didn't say I was overreacting. They didn't excuse my family's behavior. Instead, they listened with the kind of quiet that feels like protection. You did the right thing, Taylor said firmly when I finished. You set a boundary they should have set for you years ago. Her words settled into me like warm tea. Comforting, true. Over the next few months, my life shifted in ways I never expected. The girls' home on Hawthorne Street opened earlier than projected, thanks to a flood of individual donations after the charity shared its mission. I volunteered weekly, teaching coding basics to girls who reminded me of younger versions of myself, sharp, underestimated, and desperate for someone to believe in them. One afternoon, as I packed up my laptop, one of the girls approached me. Her name was Mariah, 16, guarded but brilliant. Why do you come here? She asked, suspicion layered under every word. I smiled, because people like us deserve someone who shows up. She didn't smile back, but her shoulders softened. It was enough. I started sleeping better. I started dreaming again, not of escape, but of possibility. Then, in early spring, an email arrived from an unfamiliar address. Ava, we need to talk. Mom, I stared at it for a long time. I could picture her typing it, her jaw tight, her frustration simmering. I deleted the message, but another came the next day. From Dad. Then Chloe. Then a combined one from all three. They didn't miss me. They missed what they thought they could still take from me. The last message arrived 2 weeks later. The charity sold the Hawthorne house. We had to move. Please call us. There was no apology, no accountability, just displacement wrapped in expectation. For a moment, a tiny ache tugged at my chest, not for them, but for the girl I once was. The one who would have run back, desperate for love. The one who kept believing if she tried just a little harder, she would finally be enough. But I wasn't her anymore. That night, I sat at my desk and wrote a letter not from anger, but from clarity.